Welcome to Scoop World Order Saturday night. Some things did not break Ohio State's way, but we've got some good news. There's a five-star offensive tackle who is in town right now, Jordan Seaton, a guy that we were very interested in. I think that we are going to have open auditions for right tackle next year, so we're going to get into that, what that could mean. I think there's a huge portal day coming on Monday. I think tomorrow's a very busy day at the Woody Hayes, so we're going to get into all that. First, as always, appreciate you guys kicking it with us. Again, it's Saturday night. I know a little bit somber because Texas rolled through Oklahoma State. That was the game that we really needed to get into the playoffs, but it is what it is. And just remember, this is the last year that we're going to have to deal with this because once they go to 12 teams, we're going to be in the playoffs every single year, and that's going to be fantastic. But if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click the little alert bell. If you have a question that you're dying to have answered, send us a super chat, and we will literally stop our show and answer it. So you guys are great. You guys have brought some amazing questions over the last few weeks since we've been doing this, so appreciate that. That being said, I'm going to bring in the reigning master of chaos, Nevada Buck. The playoff picture is very murky now that Alabama beat Georgia. We needed Georgia to win that one. What are your thoughts on, as of right now, if Michigan wins and say Florida State wins, what do you think the playoff ends up shaking out to be?
Boy, it's such a good question because, did we really need? I mean, I guess I went into the weekend thinking we wanted Georgia to beat Bama and that kind of be the chalky result. But now, now I'm not sure. I mean, let's just take this just one step at a time, okay? Let's look at Georgia first and go, okay, what is Georgia's credential to be considered for the top four? Okay, quality wins? No. They literally don't have any quality wins. Quality loss? Yeah, good loss. Neutral field against Bama. Conference championship? No, don't have a conference championship. Game control? I mean, kinda. But I mean, again, I think Georgia's out. Okay, so now we're getting back to Bama now. So say Bama. Okay, well, what's your best win against Georgia? Good. That's as good a win as anybody's had this year. How's your loss at home by 10 to Texas? Okay, that's an okay loss, not a great loss. Now game control. Well, many close games, including in week 12, converting a 4th and 31 against Auburn on a game that, for all intents and purposes, you lose 999 times out of 1,000. So, do they get in? I mean, I don't know. So like now Florida State's especially, you can't keep an undefeated Florida State team out. However, Florida State without their quarterback is just terrible. I mean, it's terrible football to watch. Are they one of the best 4 teams in the country? Not even close. And so, I guess they get in, but what if they lose? It's only 3-0 at halftime. So that game's definitely. So I don't know. I think anybody who's making any definitive comments right now about how this is going to break down, I don't know. This is the craziest one that I've ever seen, and believe it or not, I still can envision possibilities where Ohio State makes the playoff. And I know that might make. I'm just being objective. I'm just looking at it, kind of going. You can't argue that on one hand things are important, and on the other hand they're not important, but they're important for Georgia, but they're not important for Ohio State, but they're important for another team. I mean, if Florida State loses, I have no idea what the thing's going to look like tomorrow morning. Absolutely no idea. So I'm very much going to be riveted watching.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how Ohio State just gets dismissed in this whole conversation. Obviously, you got to win all the games, but it's just like that. They lose to a team that's going to be the number 1 seed in the entire deal. I mean, they're going to end up being the 1 seed. Michigan will be, and they lose by 6 on the road or whatever it was, and it was a really close game. We're thrown at the end zone at the end of the game, and but somehow Alabama, who's like 9th and needed a miracle. I mean, I remember we were doing the show live, and you're like, it was 4th and 31. Like, how did they score? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea. I just saw a little pop up on my thing. Alabama scores a miraculous touchdown, and Auburn's not any good. I mean, I don't know. It's amazing how I feel like playing on this last weekend is important. Now, again, this isn't going to matter next year because next year when we go to 12 teams, it's going to be the greatest thing ever because we're not going to have any consternation. It's going to be like, it almost would be better to not play this week because it's like if you're already in, who cares if you're on the Big Ten? If you're in the playoffs, like all you can do is advance your seeding. But if you're in the dance, you're in the dance. You know, if you get a home game or whatever, a bye. And the thing you're gonna want is a bye. The bye is gonna be the big one. But yeah, like I just think Florida State is such a conundrum because I don't know what the injury is to the guy who's the backup. Obviously, the superstar is out. The backup is out. Our guy Brock Glenn is terrible. I mean, it's painful to watch. But I don't know, Nevada. I was with you, all leading up to the thing, but it just seems like Texas beating Oklahoma State has like catapulted them into like being locked in ink. As of now, do you think it's going to be Michigan? I mean, obviously, I think it's going to be Michigan and Washington at the top two spots, and then, I think it's going to be Texas, and then like the Bama FSU one is going to be fascinating if FSU wins because nobody wants to watch Brock Glenn play quarterback in the playoffs as a true freshman. It's going to be terrible to watch. Do you think they'll have the balls to put Bama in
over an undefeated Florida State team? I mean,
yeah.
I don't see any way that happened. I mean, like I said, I just think that anybody making any complete, absolute, definitive statements about what is going to happen on this, I am telling you, you can make good arguments for a lot of different teams, and if you make the argument, for who are the four best teams, that's a completely different argument. And Ohio State seems to be conveniently left out because they're not playing on this weekend. But I think when the committee gets in that room, I think they're going to get a longer look than people think because they've got a better loss, they've got better wins, they demonstrated better game control, and I don't know how that changes, So it'll be interesting. Texas. I was hoping for a little closer game with Texas and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was just impossibly bad. I mean, just impossibly bad. So that I was hoping for like a 28-14 snoozer type of thing, and that didn't happen. And Quinn kind of went off passing yards and Big 12 championship records, and so they're kind of locking those guys in. But like I said, I would not wager on any of the. If Florida State loses, I think it's going to be complete and utter total chaos in that committee room, and I have no idea what's going to come out of there. Absolutely no idea whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's going to be. I mean, obviously, you're in my same realm. There's no way the SEC gets left out. Like I can't believe people even say that just because of the SEC's dominance. There's no way they're ever going to leave them out of the deal, especially this being the last 14 playoff. But yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see Brock Glenn. Good.
But how does Georgia? I mean, okay, so you're saying the SEC is not going to get left out. So then you're saying, well, it's got to be Georgia or Alabama. What is Georgia's case to make it?
Oh, I don't think they have a case at all. I really don't.
Okay,
that's part of the reason when you play a schedule like that. If you lose one, you're done.
Yeah,
and they lost one.
So they lost one. So now we're going to Alabama now. So now we go to Alabama and go, okay, so you can lose at home by 10 points. You can survive a week 13 or whatever it is, win over a 4-7 Auburn team on a 4th and 31. So on a game that is essentially lost, so now game control doesn't matter. We're going to put all that stuff aside. That game control doesn't matter. And just because you won the SEC title, no matter how you played all year, now you're in the playoff. And you're going to jump from 8 all the way up to 4.
It's crazy.
I mean, when you say it out loud, it's nuts.
It's crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. Because
I agree with you. I mean, like, what did Ohio State do? I mean, they played a harder schedule. They have better wins, and they lost to Michigan, who's going to be the 1 seed by 6.
Number 1 seed on the road.
On the road.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, you don't even hear Ohio State mentioned right now. I got a super chat. Philip, pull it up. Thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, brother. Thank God we don't have to trot Kyle out here to embarrass our fan base with his single reads and cement feet. That's a little harsh. Today has driven home how terrible he is. Please don't bring him back next year. I'd be stunned if he's not our quarterback next year, but again, I've been stunned in life before. Nevada, your thoughts on Kyle McCord? Again, I think Kyle, has to get a lot better. I think that, I don't know, his makeup, but again, he was throwing at the end zone or into the end zone or close to the end zone at the end of the Michigan game. So it's like if we catch that, if Donnie Jackson doesn't get tripped and he can drive the ball to Marvin, we might score and we might be happy and Kyle might be the GOAT or, like a guy that people actually care about. But what are your thoughts on Kyle? I mean, because he takes, but again, that's Ohio State, man. If you lose, you got to get ready for that. You got to get ready for that venom. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm probably in the minority on Kyle, but it's okay. I've been in the minority on many positions, and I'm
Oh, yeah,
comfortable
yeah.
being there. But I think he is the quarterback for next year, and I think we can win with him. Having said all that, he's got to get better, and Ryan's got to be willing to run him. That is the number one thing that Ryan Day's got to do. He's got to be willing to run him and stress the defenses in some creative ways that go not just traditional drop back and throw. And until we do that, we'll never be fully functional as an offense. And I think unless you have a transcendent talent at offense like a CJ Stroud, or a Justin Fields, I think get ready to be in the 30s in offense because um, we do it the hardest way possible. But I think we can win with Kyle, and I realize that is not a majority position.
Uh, yeah, I agree. Shane Cup, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Again, if you guys have questions, send us a super chat. We'll get them answered for you. Just curious, does Ryan Day do a Michigan Monday practice like Jim Tressel did? I don't know if Jim Tressel did a Michigan Monday practice. We usually did not practice on Mondays unless there was some strange circumstance, like if we had if we had like a really late night game and they'd give us Sunday off because you have to get one day off a week per the NCAA where you have no responsibility. They can't make you come in. You can't practice. So our off day was usually Monday. So I don't know if there was a Michigan Monday or I'm not sure where that's from. We used to do a maize and blue period, which is like a 5 to 10 minute period during practice where we'd get destroyed. Like we'd have to do up downs, we'd have to do conditioning. Like that was like a big thing. And they play the Michigan fight song during practice. Like we used to do that. And Urban picked up and did that. I don't know if Ryan does that at all, but I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not sure if Ryan does it, but he should. I mean, I'm telling you, it's all the little things that remind you about what it feels like to lose that game. And again, these guys don't need reminded about it because they've lost 3 years in a row. But like when I was, when I lost as a freshman in 03, which a game I don't really count because I didn't even travel. I was redshirted, so I guess it counts because I was on the team. But like if you don't travel to the game, it's kind of like it shows how low you are on the totem pole. But I remember the feeling afterwards, and it was I don't want to ever deal with that one again. So. Nevada, Jordan Seaton is in town. He's getting the Hyde Park wine and dine experience right now. 5-star tackle. Again, we need tackles. I think that there's a very high probability that Josh Fryer is going to be our starting guard next year. Got some of his film right here. It was weird. For a minute, they thought he'd be, potential Colorado Buffalo, but the Dion thing is falling apart really fast. I mean, he's lost about half of his staff. He's lost almost all of his recruits. Winnie Watkins, a 5-star. They're kind of seeing through the glitz and glamour that was there when they started off 3-0. But your thoughts on Jordan Seaton? Like again, I know this kid's not coming to Columbus for the weather right now. I mean, he's a star tackle. I think we have an opening at tackle next year, right tackle. Because I truly believe Josh Fry is going to play guard next year. He's going to be one of our 2 guards. Potentially, if Donnie comes back, that'd be a great guard tandem. But your thoughts on Seaton? Is it real? I mean, I feel like it's real. If you're in Columbus this late in the process and signing day is a few weeks away, like you're not here just to check out the 10-degree weather.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I gauge it all by how Ohio State feels, and Ohio State feels like that they're in the driver's seat and that they're going to get them. So that certainly gives me confidence to pay attention to it, and certainly have a level of optimism about it that we might not have had about a month ago. It didn't look like we were going to get this visit, but I think Ohio State's come on strong, especially as of late in this one, and they feel like this is one they can land. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that it'll be NIL like usual, but I think that we've got a chance because again, like we've got production going into the NFL. These guys all know. Well, we just put Paris in. Paris went, I think like 6 overall. Or I mean, he was obviously a high pick. Devon's going to make the all rookie team, playing like a Pro Bowler. I think that we've got a good shot at the kid, but can we close him? I mean, that's been kind of the bugaboo is we haven't closed the 5-star tackles since Justin Fry's taken over, and that's something that we need to fix. I think that. I would start playing time. I'd say, hey, you want to play right tackle next year? It's yours. Or we put Josh Simmons, whatever. Like I was watching Caden Proctor today. He's a true freshman starting for Bama at left tackle, and he's got a lot of ability. He's very lazy, but I think he's going to end up losing a lot of fat over this winter. and he wound up being a good player for him. Uh, what else? So tomorrow is going to be a really interesting day at the Woody Hayes. There's a lot of kids that are meeting with the staff to determine kind of their futures. Monday, as you know, everyone can enter the portal legally. And I think there's already been back channel workings with players and whoever the corresponding people are to figure out, where they're going to go, where they're going to land. Because I think it's going to be a big portal cycle in college football. For Ohio State, they'll probably, I don't know, 3 to 12 guys could probably bounce. Some have already kind of unofficially announced, but you can't officially do it till Monday. Nevada, I don't worry about the portal. I think that it's something that we need to be better at and weaponize. But what are your thoughts? Again, because I think it's really the new wave of college football is kind of having to re-recruit these kids like every single year. And Ryan's gonna have a long day on Sunday doing that and spending time with Jordan Seaton.
Yeah, no, it's look, it's something that you just can't ignore. It's not one of those things where you're like, we're going to let other people doing the portal stuff. We're just going to keep doing it our way. We're going to recruit traditionally, keep guys on our thing, and then develop from within. You just can't do that. You're putting yourself at such a huge disadvantage. And the good news is I think Ohio State's figured that out. The bad news is the big part of weaponizing the portal and being aggressive on the portal is having a really robust NIL program. And while we're better at NIL than we were when this whole thing began, and we're doing things. We have some areas that we need to get better at, and that's one of them. Um, Again, they know it. Resources are being marshaled towards it. Um, they understand what's kind of at stake, but from Ohio State's standpoint, we're going to continue to struggle, on players like this because it's just culturally it's been difficult for us to kind of embrace this, and I don't know we're quite there yet. We're like I said, we're better, we're making steps in the right direction, but boy, we got a long way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Jack Tremaine, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for tuning in as always. I saw Tora's in here. What's up, Tora? What's up, Susan? I see a bunch of you guys in here that are in here every night. Appreciate you guys. AZ King, as always, one of our best guys. Thanks for the 5. How much did Emeka Egbuka having the surgery not disclosed hurt the offense? Well, I think it was devastating to not have Emeka Egbuka at the level that we expected him to be at. It was a lot like Jackson Smith and Jigba, man. I mean, I was watching Jackson Smith and Jigba on Thursday Night Football, and he's really good. It's like I couldn't imagine what our offense would have looked like with him last year, but we didn't have him. So you lose a dynamic playmaker like that, and all of a sudden it's tough to replace. It's impossible to replace. Nemeka's a guy that he'll likely declare, assuming we miss the playoffs. There's no way he's playing in the bowl game, and Marvin and Trey, those guys all take off. But what are your thoughts, Nevada? How much did it not having a healthy Emeka Egbuka hurt our offense this year?
I mean, yeah, it hurt in the second year in a row, and the tough thing about last year's thing with Jackson Smith and Jigba is he re-injured himself, being in excess of his pitch count in a meaningless game, and that's the kind of stuff that kind of haunts you. You just kind of wonder about what could have been. But look, the whole last year's whole season was what could have been with the Marvin targeting penalty that never was, and this year it's the Donnie Jackson trip, and just look, that's the tough thing about football is it comes down to one play, one decision, one thing, and that is one of the big benefits of the 12-team playoff is we're not going to be so dependent on that anymore. From now on, we're pretty much going to be in the playoff. It's just going to be a question of who we're playing and when and what the seeding is. But your season doesn't ride on a knife's edge, and for me that takes away some of the drama of the regular season. But if the benefit is we have more fun through December and January with an expanded playoff, then hey, I'm all for it. Let's bring on 2024.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic, and I think that these losses, losing, it's never acceptable to lose, but it'll be like in the NFL. You lose a game and you're sad for a few days, but if you're like Ohio State or you're like Georgia, they have two. They lost to two really good teams, Michigan and Alabama, two of the perennial programs, and now all of a sudden their season's dashed, and they're going to be playing in some worthless bowl game, and Brock Bowers is done playing college football, and Marvin's done playing college football. So I think it's going to be amazing. Like the 12, I wish it was this year, because then the show would have a whole different tenor and a whole different vibe, because we'd be like, ooh, are we going to go on the road? Or are we going to get to buy? I think that you're obviously gonna want to be one of the teams that gets to buy because when you get the buy, those will be huge. Um, Another super chat. B Clay all day. Thanks for the deuce. OSU Georgia rematch. How many picks does Kyle throw? God, that'll be really interesting given the fact that we're probably not going to have Marvin and Emeka. So you're going to be running out Carnell Tate and Ennis. And, I think those guys know that. I think they know that this could be their time to shine. And, I talked to some guys that are close to some of these young guys. I'm like, look, dude, that should be your Super Bowl. I mean, you guys want to go make some NIL money? Like, go ball out in this bowl game that everyone's going to say, oh, it's dull, it's worthless, it's nothing, it's playoffs, whatever. Like, these young guys, I mean, this is how you launch your stardom. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, that Rose Bowl versus Utah, it kind of catapulted them into the stratosphere, along with CJ Stroud, obviously. And it turned into, they made a lot of money in the offseason getting NIL deals because people always want to bet on the come. And you have to understand these local businesses that do these NIL deals, they'd rather latch onto a freshman or someone who's a superstar who's showing up because that way you got 3 years with the kid at least. Whereas when you get the older kids, you might only have them for 3-4 months. Like, I mean, when I was at Riker, we got Garrett Wilson. We had him for like 2 months before he declared. So it was like, that's great, but you don't really get to build anything with the kid the way that you prefer to do it. Nevada, what will your level of excitement be for if it is the Orange Bowl? It's the Orange Bowl against Louisville. There was someone that said Rose Bowl versus Georgia, which would be really interesting. What would your level of excitement be for that, especially given the likely fact that most of the older guys are probably going to take off and not play?
I mean, frankly, that kind of ups my excitement level, to be honest with you, because I liked watching. I remember the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, and when I predicted Marvin Harrison to have 3 touchdown passes in that game, and he did, and I think I predicted Mecca to have 15 catches or whatever. I mean, it was a crazy one, but it's like sometimes you just got the young guys get a chance to go, and that's the funnest part of the games. The funnest part of the games is watching these guys that have been just waiting. I mean, the sad thing is we lose, the bigger names. The good news is you get to see the younger guys. That just you get to see Brandon Innish, you get to see Carnell Tate, you get to see the Rogers boys, you get to see guys just go out there and try to make it happen. So no, I'm always excited about the future because the future is going to be here before we know it. As we've learned anything about college football anymore, there's no off season. It seems it goes right into winter, right into spring ball, right into summer conditioning, and then we're back in fall camp and we're getting after it. And as we talked about, next year with the 12-team playoff, we're in the playoff next year. We're in the playoff. Just a question of what's the seeding, where we're playing at, and giddy up. And I know I'm in the minority on this one as well, but I think that if Florida State loses tonight, that absolute chaos could reign in that room because you can make an argument against every one of those teams at that point, every single one of them. I don't think the SEC is a shoe-in at all to get it. I just don't. I don't understand the thinking. I don't understand the thinking on a team. Alabama, essentially, they lost the Auburn game. The Auburn game was lost, and they somehow managed to win it on the last play on a miracle, and that's going to get them into the playoffs like that. Then game control should never mean anything. They should never ever talk about game control because that's essentially a loss. They did everything they could possibly do to lose the game, other than lose the game.
Yeah, the crazy thing is I think you're right. I think when the committee sits down and they're like, well, we had Ohio State at number 1 for a portion of the college football playoffs, and then they lost by 6 on the road, and they were in that. It wasn't like we got because that's the thing that's hilarious to me is like we got ran last year at home by 21, and we got into the playoffs, and then this year we go up there and lose by 6. Basically, kind of the same wins, same resume, probably a stronger resume this year, and we're at death's door right now. So it's kind of weird. Treasure of the Torah, you're the best. Appreciate you, my man, always being in here. Thank you for the 20. What's up, Kirk? I hope all is well, my brother. Just chilling, and I will say this from watching these games today. You need top talent, but more than anything, you need your team to truly be together as one. I agree. I mean, Florida State is scrapping. I mean, their offense is painful to watch, but their defense is really good. I mean, those guys run to the ball, and they got some dogs up front. But I agree. I think it's all about peaking at the right time. I think that there's some luck involved. Like Michigan, drawing Iowa. I mean, Iowa can't score on anybody, so they're definitely gonna score on Michigan. So they kind of have like a layup tonight versus like Georgia drawing Bama, who could beat them. Georgia's got good enough players. I mean, Georgia, Bama, and Ohio State are the three most talented teams in the country pretty much every year right now. Just in terms of recruiting and star power and that type of thing. And so when you draw one of those guys, you're going to be playing equal talent. And then like Texas draws Oklahoma State, who is just terrible, and they shred them. And so now Texas is real good. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how everything shakes out tomorrow. Well, Nevada, I kind of watched this Florida State game. You got any final thoughts? We can wrap this thing. We'll go a little shorter tonight because there's some good games on. So I mean, do you want Louisville to win, or do you just want Florida State to win, or do you just want pure chaos? Nevada. I think I lost our boy. So I'll wrap this thing up. I appreciate you guys. Halftime's about over for these games. So again, as always, thank you guys for kicking it. A little bit shorter show tonight, but we'll be back at it in full swing tomorrow night. So we appreciate you guys as always. I hope you guys have a great night. And it's hard watching Championship Saturday without the Buckeyes playing. But hey, next year we're going to be in the playoffs. It's going to be all good. So as always, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. That's so huge for us. Again, we appreciate all of your support. As I said, next year we're not going to have to worry about this anymore, and it's going to be fantastic because the Bucs will be in the playoffs basically every year. So thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I'm going to talk to you guys tomorrow. Let's go watch these games. Go Bucs.